The cold night wrapped around the alien refugee station like a silent warning. Lights flickered above the long metal halls, and the smell of old machinery floated in the air. People from many species walked in every direction, speaking in low voices, trying not to think about their lost homes. But in the corner of the waiting area, on a cracked metal bench, sat a small alien girl named Lyra. She hugged a thin torn blanket close to her chest. Her eyes, large and bright, watched the floor as if she was afraid to look up. Her small legs dangled above the ground, shaking not only from cold but from loneliness. No one sat near her, no one spoke to her, no one even looked at her twice. Every few minutes someone passed by and stared, then quickly turned away. Some felt pity, some felt fear, and some simply did not care. Lyra had felt their silence all her life. She had learned that silence was louder than any words. A soft whisper escaped her lips, a whisper she had repeated many nights. "Nobody wants to adopt me." Her voice was so quiet that even she could barely hear it. She pressed her blanket tighter as her small body shivered. Above her, an old heating vent made a weak rattling sound, but no warmth came from it. Two station guards stood near the entrance, speaking in low tones. Lyra heard pieces of their conversation even though they tried to hide it. "That girl, last survivor of her colony," one guard whispered. "Tragic, but nobody wants responsibility," the other answered. "She's been here for months, poor kid. No choice left. If no one takes her soon, she'll be sent to the mining world. Terrible place for a child. Orders are orders." Lyra closed her eyes, trying to stop her tears. She knew the mining world stories. Children working until they fainted, no family, no light, no hope. She wished someone would choose her, even if only for a moment, even if only to say she mattered. Footsteps echoed across the hall. A group of wealthy alien families walked in, wearing shiny clothes and expensive devices. They came to choose new children to adopt, but only the ones who looked strong or special. One woman looked at Lyra, frowned, and turned her head away. Another whispered to her partner, "She looks too fragile." A tall alien man said, "Her colony is gone, she might carry trouble." One by one they passed her without a word. Lyra's heart sank deeper with every rejection. She lowered her face into her blanket and whispered again, "Nobody wants me." Minutes passed, then an hour, then another. The halls grew quieter, the lights dimmer. The station felt more like a forgotten cave than a place of safety. Lyra felt herself disappearing into the cold night. Suddenly, a loud alarm echoed through the station. Red lights flashed along the walls. The guards straightened up. Visitors looked around in confusion. Voices spread quickly. "A human ship is docking," someone said. "What are humans doing here? They never visit this place. This is strange." Lyra lifted her head slowly. Even she knew that humans rarely entered these forgotten stations. To many alien races, humans were strange and unpredictable. Strong, brave, emotional, loyal to a fault. They were known for adopting children of other species, but only when they believed the child needed real protection. The doors hissed open with a heavy mechanical sound. Warm white light spilled into the hall, cutting through the cold darkness. Everyone turned as a tall human officer stepped inside. He wore a dark uniform with silver marks on the chest. His boots hit the floor with calm, steady steps. His eyes moved slowly across the room, searching for something, or someone. People muttered nervously. "Why is a human here? What does he want? This is unusual." Lyra shrunk into her blanket, unsure whether to hide or watch. The officer walked further in, scanning every face, every child, every lonely corner. His expression was serious but warm. He looked like someone who carried heavy weight on his shoulders. But he also looked like someone who would never run away from responsibility. Then his eyes stopped. He looked directly at Lyra. She froze, unsure why a human would look at her like that. His expression softened, not with pity but with understanding. He slowly walked toward her, each step echoing in the silence. Lyra's heart beat faster. Her breath trembled. No one had ever walked toward her with such focus, such purpose. She did not know if she should be afraid or hopeful. She only knew that this moment felt different from every other moment in her lonely life. The officer reached her and knelt down so his eyes were level with hers. His voice was gentle, calm, almost father-like. He spoke as if he truly saw her, not just the last survivor of a destroyed colony. He spoke like she mattered. "You're alone, aren't you?" he said softly. Lyra's lips parted, but no words came out. She only nodded slightly. Her eyes glistened, her voice trapped in her small shaking chest. The officer extended his hand toward her, slow and patient. His eyes full of quiet promise. The whole station watched in complete silence, unsure of what was happening, unsure of what would come next. And for the first time in a long time, Lyra felt something warm. Not from the broken heater above her, but from the human kneeling in front of her. A warmth that whispered a possibility she had long forgotten. Oh. The human officer kept his hand extended toward Lyra, waiting without any pressure. His eyes were calm, patient, and full of something she had never seen directed at her before. Kindness. The station felt frozen, as if every creature nearby was holding its breath, unsure what would happen next. Lyra looked at his hand, then at his face, then back at his hand again. She had never been this close to a human. She had only heard stories, some good, some frightening. But this human, this tall officer with gentle eyes, did not look frightening at all. He looked like someone who would protect, not harm. Finally, Lyra reached out her small shaking hand. Her fingers brushed his palm lightly, as if she was afraid he would pull away. But he didn't. He closed his hand gently around hers, giving a warm, comforting squeeze. "My name is Captain Rowan Hale," he said softly. "What is your name?" Lyra swallowed before whispering. "Lyra?" Her voice trembled like a candle flame in the wind. But Rowan smiled, a warm, real smile that lit up his face. "That is a beautiful name," he said. Lyra's cheeks warmed slightly, not from embarrassment, but from a feeling she did not understand yet. A station clerk rushed over, his eyes wide with confusion. "Captain Hale, what are you doing here?" he asked nervously. "This is not a usual place for human officers." Rowan did not break eye contact with Lyra as he spoke. "I received a report about a child who has been waiting here for too long." His voice was steady, his tone full of quiet anger directed at the situation, not the girl. "I wanted to see her myself." The clerk shifted uncomfortably. "Well, yes, she is the last survivor of her colony. Many families showed interest at first, but, well." He hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "They all walked away," Rowan finished for him, his voice low. The clerk nodded. "Her future options are limited," he whispered. Lyra lowered her head, her blanket slipping slightly from her shoulders. Her small fingers tightened around Rowan's sleeve as if she did not want him to step away. Rowan noticed, and his expression softened even more. He gently adjusted her blanket so it covered her better. Her eyes widened at the small act of care. No one had ever done that for her. "Why is she still here?" Rowan asked quietly. "Why is she alone?" The clerk sighed. "She is fragile, too quiet, too scared. People want strong children. Some fear her past, believe she carries bad luck." Another guard added, "Her colony was targeted, attackers might still be searching." A shadow crossed Rowan's face. He understood instantly what that meant. This child wasn't just unwanted. She was considered a risk, a burden, a problem. But Rowan didn't see any of that when he looked at her. He only saw a child who needed someone. He knelt beside her again. "Lyra," he said gently, "do you want to leave this place?" Lyra blinked, confused. "Leave?" "Yes," Rowan nodded. "Do you want a home?" Her heart jumped painfully in her chest. She had dreamed of hearing those words, but she was afraid to believe them. She whispered, barely audible, "Do you want me?" Rowan did not even hesitate. "I do," he said softly. "If you want, you can come with me." Lyra stared at him as if she couldn't understand how such words could be real. She lifted her small hand again and touched his uniform. Why me?" she whispered. Rowan's voice was full of honesty when he replied. "Because you deserve someone to stand by you. Because no child should face the galaxy alone. Because you matter." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. She tried to speak but her voice broke. She nodded slowly, then again a little faster. She wanted this. She wanted him. She wanted a home. Rowan gently lifted her into his arms. She wrapped her blanket tighter and held onto his shoulder. She was light, too light, as if she had not been eating properly. Rowan's jaw clenched, anger rising inside him at the thought of her suffering alone. As he carried her toward the adoption counter, a shadowy figure stepped into his path. It was a tall, cloaked alien with glowing red eyes. His voice came out low and cold. "You should not take her," he warned. "She carries danger with her." Rowan did not stop walking. He only shifted Lyra slightly so she felt safer in his arms. "What danger?" Rowan asked, voice steady. The alien leaned closer. "Her colony was destroyed for a reason. Those who did it will come for her again. If you take her, they will come for you too." Lyra trembled and hid her face in Rowan's chest. But Rowan's voice was calm, almost fearless. "Good, he said quietly. Let them come. The cloaked alien stared in shock as Rowan walked past him without hesitation. Everyone watching felt a wave of disbelief mixed with respect. Humans were strange, yes, but this courage was something else. Rowan reached the adoption desk and placed his hand on the scanner. I am adopting Lyra, he declared. The clerk blinked. Are you sure? Rowan looked down at the girl in his arms, her eyes full of fear and hope. Yes, he said firmly. I don't walk away from people who need me. Lyra pressed her forehead against his chest. For the first time in years, she felt safe. Captain Rowan Hale carried Lyra through the wide halls of the station, his steps steady and sure. Her small hands clung to his uniform as she hid her face against his shoulder. She could feel his heartbeat, calm and strong, something that made her feel safe. It was the first time she had ever been held like this. The first time she felt like someone wanted her. As they moved, aliens stepped aside to give them room. Some watched with confusion, some with fear, and some with surprise. A few whispered loudly enough for Lyra to hear. A human adopting her? That girl will bring trouble. He must not know her colony's story. But Rowan didn't slow down, didn't look at anyone. His focus was only on the girl in his arms. They reached a long hallway leading toward the docking bay. The cold floor plates echoed under Rowan's boots. Lights flickered a little above them, showing the station's age. Lyra peeked up nervously as they walked, her voice small and frightened. Are you still taking me? Rowan looked down at her, his expression soft. Yes, Lyra, he said gently. I told you I don't walk away. She swallowed and nodded, but her eyes were still full of worry. What if the bad people come? She whispered. Rowan shifted her slightly in his arms. Then we will face them together, he said. His voice had no fear, only strength. When they reached the docking bay doors, 2 human soldiers stood guard. Their eyes widened when they saw the captain carrying a small alien child. Sir? One of them asked, confused. Rowan simply said, She is with me. And the soldiers stepped aside immediately. The doors slid open with a low mechanical hum, releasing warm air from inside. Beyond them sat a large human cruiser painted in dark steel colors. The name Solace was written in glowing letters along its side. Lyra stared at it with wide eyes. She had never seen a human ship up close. It looked strong, protective, alive. Much different from the cold, broken station she had spent her life in. Rowan stepped onto the ramp, the metal vibrating under his boots. Inside, the lights were warm, the air smelled clean, and soft hums traveled through the walls. It felt like walking into a safe place, a home. The crew members turned to look as Rowan entered. Some whispered quietly, Is that a child? Did the captain really adopt someone? She looked so small. Rowan stopped in the center of the hall and gently set Lyra down on her feet. She gripped his sleeve with both hands, afraid to let go. Rowan knelt beside her so she didn't feel lost among the tall humans. Everyone, he said calmly. This is Lyra. She is joining us. The crew looked at each other, unsure what to say at first. A woman stepped forward, an engineer with kind eyes. She crouched down and smiled gently at Lyra. Hello, little one, she said softly. I'm Mira. Lyra shyly lowered her head but did not hide behind Rowan completely. Mira noticed this and kept her voice gentle. You're safe here, she said. Lyra nodded slowly. Another crew member, a large man named Briggs, scratched his head awkwardly. She looks scared, he muttered. Rowan gave him a sharp but calm look. She has been through too much already. We will show her what real family feels like. They walked deeper into the ship, the halls bright and welcoming. Lyra's eyes followed every detail. She touched the smooth walls with her fingers, amazed by how warm they felt compared to the cold metal of the station. Her steps were small, cautious, afraid of doing something wrong. Rowan guided her to a small room with a soft bed, warm lights, and a shelf of simple toys. This will be your room, Lyra, he said. Lyra froze, staring at the bed like it was something magical. For me? She asked, voice full of disbelief. Rowan nodded. Yes, for you. Her hands trembled as she touched the blanket. It was soft, warm, nothing like the thin torn blanket she always carried. She climbed onto the bed slowly, testing it like she was afraid it might disappear. Then she looked up at Rowan. Can I stay here? She whispered. Rowan smiled kindly. Yes, you can stay. All the time. Lyra's eyes filled with tears again, but this time they were not from sadness. They were from the feeling of finally being wanted. But as peace settled around her, the ship suddenly vibrated. A small alarm beeped quietly somewhere in the hall. Rowan's expression changed slightly, turning serious. He tapped the communicator on his wrist. "Hail here, what's happening?" A voice answered, tense and worried. "Captain, we detected an unknown vessel following us. No identification, no broadcast, and it is closing in fast." Lyra's heart dropped. She gripped Rowan's sleeve tightly. "The bad people," she whispered. Rowan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Don't worry," he said in a calm, strong voice. "You're safe with us." But deep inside, Rowan knew this was not a simple coincidence. Someone was already tracking the girl. Someone dangerous. Someone who wanted her back. And they were getting closer. The alarm continued to beep softly through the hall, a sound that carried quiet danger. Crew members started moving quickly, their faces turning serious as they checked screens and controls. Lyra sat frozen on her new bed, her small hands gripping the blanket so tightly that her fingers turned pale. She looked at Rowan with wide, frightened eyes. "Is it them?" she whispered. Rowan kneeled in front of her, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. "We don't know yet," he said gently. "But we will handle it." The calmness in his voice soothed her a little, but fear still pressed heavy inside her chest. She had felt this fear before on the night her colony fell. Flashes of fire, screams, shadows with glowing red helmets. She shook her head, trying to push the memories away. But they came back like ghosts in the dark. Rowan saw the terror in her eyes and spoke softly. "You're not alone anymore." A crew member, Briggs, rushed into the doorway, his face tense. "Captain, you need to see this." Rowan stood up but gently touched Lyra's hair before leaving. "Stay here, Lyra," he said. "I'll be right back." Lyra reached for him. "Don't go," she whispered. Rowan crouched again and looked into her trembling eyes. "I won't be far," he said. "I promise." He stepped out of the room and the door slid closed, leaving Lyra in silence. She hugged her knees and rocked slightly, her mind filling with dread. She had brought danger with her. She was sure of it. And she feared Rowan would regret taking her. She feared humans would suffer because of her. Meanwhile, Rowan entered the control room where screens lit up with glowing signals. Mira pointed at the main display. Unknown vessel, no registration, stealth pattern. The ship appeared as a dark shape moving fast, following the Solace like a predator tracking prey. Briggs spoke with a deep frown. "Whoever they are, they're not here to talk." Rowan crossed his arms, studying the pattern. He already had a strong suspicion. "They're after her," he said quietly. Mira swallowed hard. "Lyra?" Rowan nodded. "Her colony was destroyed for a reason. And someone doesn't want that reason revealed." The communicator beeped sharply. A distorted voice filled the room, cold and sharp like a blade. "Human vessel," the voice hissed. "You carry something that belongs to us." Rowan's expression hardened instantly. "This is Captain Rowan Hale," he said, voice steady. "You will identify yourselves." The voice laughed, low and cruel. "No names are needed." "Send us the girl." Mira gasped and Briggs clenched his fists. Rowan stepped closer to the microphone. "There is no girl here for you," he said firmly. The voice replied with a chilling calm. "She is ours. She holds what we seek. Hand her over or be destroyed." Rowan's eyes narrowed dangerously. He spoke with slow, sharp words. "We don't abandon children." The enemy ship replied instantly. "Then you will die with her." The communication cut off, leaving only the hum of machines. Briggs slammed his hand on the table. "Cowards," he muttered. Mira looked at Rowan with concern. "What do we do, Captain?" Rowan's voice was steady, confident, unshaken. "We protect her. As long as she is on this ship, she is under human protection." Back in her room, Lyra felt the vibrations of engines powering up. Voices echoed from far away, panicked yet controlled. She slid off the bed and tiptoed to the door, her heart racing. She felt responsible. She felt guilty. She whispered to herself, "They're coming because of me." Her small hands touched the door panel and it slid open. She stepped out quietly, trying not to be noticed. She walked down the hall, the lights dimming as the ship shifted into battle mode. She heard shouting from the control room and hurried toward it. When she reached the doorway, she froze. Rowan stood in the center, giving commands with strong, calm authority. "Shields up. Prepare evasion pattern. Ready pulse cannons." Lyra felt tears burn her eyes. All this because of her. She stepped inside slowly, her voice trembling. "Captain?" Everyone turned toward her. Rowan's eyes softened instantly. "Lyra, you should be in your room," he said gently. She shook her head. "This is my fault," she whispered. "If they want me, I should go. Rowan's face turned serious, his voice deep and firm. Lyra, look at me. She lifted her eyes slowly. You are not going anywhere, he said. No one is taking you. No one is hurting you. We will fight to protect you. Lyra's lip trembled. Why? Why risk yourself for me? Rowan stepped toward her and placed a hand on her small shoulder. Because you are part of this crew now, he said. Because you are family. Lyra gasped quietly at the word family. She had never been part of one. She had never even dreamed of hearing the word meant for her. Before she could speak, the entire ship shook violently. The enemy vessel had fired the first shot. Lights flickered, alarms flashed red. Briggs shouted, "They're attacking from the starboard side." Mira yelled, "Shields at 70%. Rowan moved quickly, voice strong and commanding. All hands to battle stations. Protect the girl. The ship rumbled as humans began to fight back. Energy blasts flew across space, lighting the darkness like storms. The Solace shuddered under the impact, but it did not break. Humans fought with fierce determination. Not for territory, not for power, but for a small alien girl who had spent her life believing she was unwanted. And now, an entire human crew was ready to risk everything for her. For Lyra. The Solace shook again as another blast hit the shields. Emergency lights flickered in the halls, painting everything in red. Lyra held onto Rowan's arm as the ship trembled, fear tightening her chest. But even through the chaos, the humans kept fighting, their voices strong and steady. Briggs shouted from the weapons console. Direct hit on their hull. They're pulling back. Mira scanned the radar quickly. The enemy vessel is losing power, she said. They didn't expect us to fight this hard. Rowan stepped closer to the front screen, watching the enemy ship stagger in space. His voice was firm. Keep pressure on them. Don't let them regain control. The Solace fired again, sending a bright streak of energy across the dark sky. A final explosion shook the distant enemy vessel. Its engine sparked, then went dark. Slowly it drifted away, defeated. Mira let out a breath of relief. They're retreating. Rowan nodded, but his eyes were still sharp. Track them until they leave our range. Briggs smirked. Humans don't lose, he said proudly. The ship finally settled, the vibrations fading into silence. The red lights dimmed, replaced by the warm glow of normal lighting. But Lyra's small body continued to shake. She had never been protected like this, never fought for, never valued. Her entire life she believed she was a burden, something unwanted. Yet here an entire human crew had risked their lives for her. Rowan knelt beside her, placing a warm hand on her back. It's over, he said gently. You're safe. Lyra looked up at him, her eyes filled with tears. You protected me, she whispered. Rowan smiled softly. Of course. That's what family does. The word family made Lyra's heart jump. She touched her chest lightly as if she was afraid the feeling would disappear. No one ever wanted me, she said quietly. No one ever stayed. Rowan shook his head slowly. That changes now. You are with us. The crew watched the scene silently, their hearts softened by the sight. Briggs cleared his throat awkwardly. She's one of us now, he said, trying not to sound emotional. Mira stepped forward and placed a gentle hand on Lyra's hair. You're safe here, little one. For the first time Lyra smiled, small, shy but real. Something warm spread through her chest, a feeling she had never known. Belonging. The journey to Earth. After repairs were made, the Solace began its journey back to Earth. Lyra spent most of the trip in Rowan's company, learning simple words, exploring the halls, and discovering what kindness felt like. The crew made her feel included, offering her warm meals, blankets, and gentle smiles. She laughed for the first time in her life, a soft sound that surprised everyone. But the greatest moment came when they finally approached Earth. The blue planet shone bright like a jewel in the black sky. Lyra pressed her face against the window, eyes wide with amazement. It's beautiful, she whispered. Rowan smiled at her wonder. Welcome home, Lyra, he said. The ship descended through soft clouds, lights shining across oceans and forests far below. Lyra had never seen anything like it. There was color, life, warmth, everything missing from her destroyed colony and the cold refugee station. When they landed, a small welcoming team approached. Among them were human children holding handmade gifts. One little girl stepped forward shyly and offered Lyra a small woven bracelet. It's for you, she said. You're part of our world now. Lyra looked at the bracelet with trembling hands, then she slowly put it on. A tear slid down her cheek, not from sadness but from something brighter. Rowan placed a hand on her back. Come, he said softly. There's more to see. A new beginning. Rowan took Lyra to a quiet hill near the landing site. The sun was setting, painting the sky with gold and red. Warm wind brushed against her face, carrying the smell of fresh grass. Lyra breathed deeply, her heart full, her fears fading a little more with each passing moment. Is this really home? She asked softly. Rowan sat beside her and nodded. Yes, he said gently. Earth is your home now. And as long as I live, you will never be alone again. Lyra leaned against him, her small hand sliding into his. For the first time in her life she felt safe. Truly safe. She felt the weight of loneliness lift from her shoulders, replaced by warmth and belonging. I thought no one wanted me, she whispered. Rowan looked down at her with a soft smile. Humans do, he said. We don't leave people behind. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the grass. But inside Lyra's heart, a new light had been born. A light no darkness could take away again. And as she watched the sky turn into night, she whispered with a small, peaceful smile. I am home.